Hello, this is a video on how to use EmpowerDB's new custom report building tool. What this tool is a way for you to take all-in-one reports that you've built and combine them together or pull pieces from those reports into one report format that you design yourself. This report tool is about as advanced as it gets on EmpowerDB. You will first need to be pretty good at running all-in-one reports. Pretty good to really good, somewhere in that range. Okay, so if you're still kind of not clear on the all-in-one report stuff, you should really watch the training video on how to do that and be more experienced in that. The training video for that should be on the top right of this video now, flying by. So if you feel like you're an expert there, then let's start getting into this, and I'll show you kind of an example of a report that's been built through this tool, and we can kind of go through the process of recreating it. Okay, so my test custom report that I've built already is listed here. And it's meant to kind of look and behave just like any of the other funder reports that have been built, or maybe we've built a custom report for you kind of through another means. So we wanted it to kind of be seamless in this list here. So we can click on that and we can set the start and end dates. Let's just do so far this year and generate report. And so now the report goes through, and we've designed this to have a header here and a table. It's going to show this number, that number. Then we've told it to put another table here and then another table down here. And so this is what it is. All right. We can make it report look like anything we want. I will show you how to do this. So let's go back to the report section, and we're going to add a custom report. All right, first step is we got to give it a name. Another test report. Wow, it seems like that always happens. Okay, now pretty typical input field that you see in EmpowerDB. Who should be able to view, add, edit, and delete this report? Let's just say only site administrators can do this. Oh, by the way, when we go to add in a custom report, only those who are site program administrators or site administrators will be able to do the initial step of adding a custom report. You could potentially set other users, like if another user wanted to be able to modify a report, you can make it for them first, set their account, or the type of account that they are, as someone who's able to add, edit, or delete this type of this report, and then they will see that in the list, and they will be able to see this kind of pencil icon to go and edit the report after you've already created it. Okay, so other people can do it, but administrators at least have to take that first step. And then let's say only site administrators can edit it, but all other users can view it. All right, so that works the same way everywhere else in EmpowerDB. This is not a way for you to add in, like if you just got Voca funding, you don't have the Voca report. This is not the way for you to add in the Voca report on your own. You still have to, unless you wanted to like completely rebuild it on your own and not take advantage of the report that we've built. But if you want an official funder report, you still have to contact us and we added it for you. All right, create report. So now our first step, it's pulling in our report name and permissions that we already set there. And now it needs to know what the report criteria should be when we open this thing up. So it's assuming that pretty much every report that you're going to want to run, you're going to want to have a start date and an end date in there. If that's not the case, and this is some odd report that you don't care about dates at all, then you can click here, these minus things, to delete that, but you probably do want those. Notice that we have the full name of whatever the report criteria is and the code that's associated with this name. The code that you enter here is really important. This has to align, it's case sensitive, so it's capitals and everything, with the constants that you use in your all-in-one reports. So I've created a folder here, test custom report, that has my 3 all-in-one reports that I'm going to be using throughout this report and throughout this demonstration. I highly recommend doing this and making it so that all of the reports that you are going to use for whatever your custom report is exists in one folder, just to keep things clean. And then maybe you can set this folder's permissions to kind of only be visible to certain people, edited by certain people, so you know that other people aren't going in there and messing around with things. So the constants that we use in the all-in-one reports have to align with the codes that are in here. Now, if you're going like constants, I don't know about this, then that's kind of going back to what I'm saying there. You kind of need to be an expert on all-in-one reports and be familiar with constants and know what those are. So notice how in here we have this report is meant to be really simple. We're getting, let's kind of widen this up a little bit. We're getting all services from start date to end date. All right, and we're defining the 2 date constants here, one called start, one called end. And so it's these codes, start and start, those have to align. All right, the value here doesn't matter. This is just, you know, when we're looking at the all-in-one report in this view, we want to see something. You know, so we have to put a value in for something, and then we can know that it's working. But when we go now to run, I'm going to go back to the pre-built report that we already did. So when we go to this test custom report, we're seeing start date, end date. When I go here and I put February 1st, actually I did January 1st to February 22nd, generate report, it's going through and it's running this report that we've designed, and it's swapping in the start date and the end date that you picked already with the constants, with the values that you put here. All right, so those get overwritten with whatever values you've set in your report criteria. All right, so a huge part of this report, and you know, well, hopefully you can get the sense of this after not too long. A huge part of this report is just passing through constants from one report to another. All right, we're setting a constant here, we're passing it through, and we're saying use it through here. And then, you know, if you were to include like a linkable report in here, like maybe the latest locations or something, and this report used constants that were called start and end, then those constants will be passed through into this linkable report. So the constants kind of all make their way from this starting page and filter through into these all-in-one reports. If you get it, but you like don't totally get it, that's fine. We're so happy to help you make the final stages of getting it. These just, you know, go through the normal process of sending a support request with all the links and what you're trying to do. We generally enjoy helping with these types of things. I'm trying to like figure out how to phrase this without sounding insulting, but when people are on the advanced side of this kind of world, it's not as common for us, so it's exciting for us to help when we get people that are in this neck of the woods. All right, how was that? Okay, so we're setting up constants here. So maybe we want another constant. Let's add in a new one, and we're going to call this one maybe gender, and we're going to make a code for this. Gender is fine. All right, what type of constant is this? We are going to, so we have these options. It's possible if you're seeing something that have a need that isn't met by one of these options, let us know. Maybe we can build in some extra ones here. So let's see, you can make something be, like let's say you wanted to have your report be, just let you select, let's go back to here, let you select an individual client. So show me all the services from one individual client from start date to end date. You know, you could do that by, you know, doing something like this. So a single client input called client, and maybe the code you'd want to use, you define as being client. All right, so that's an option. You can have single staff input in the same kind of way. You can have just be a number. So maybe like age. Maybe you want to like have a report where you can just like type in, like, show me everybody who's 25, their services start end dates, blah, blah, blah. But I think the most common will be select one existing options. Most common besides the start and end date, of course. And now we can pick which variable in the database we want to have the options use. So we're probably going to want to pick the gender variable. You know, it's not going to make the assumption for you based off what you pick, you know, because you can, you know, let's say you wanted to, you know, name it something totally different than what the variable is. We wanted to make it so that you could do that. So you have to specify which variable in the database you want to have the options for. All right, so let's just click Save Changes here and see what we've got so far. So it says Success, Report, Save Changes. We can view the report in this window or in another window. Let's pick another window. And here is what we'll get. It's the same thing as what would happen if we clicked on Reports, another Test Reports, and we're at our screen where we can say, show me from this date to this date. Everybody is female. All right, so let's go back here and all right, no, let's generate the report. What do we see? Nothing. That's because we haven't put anything in the results yet. So let's start doing that. Here is a text editor that's very similar to the text editor that you see in other places in EmpowerDB, but it's a little souped up. So we can make a header and we can select it and make it a large heading or a regular heading or normal text. We can, you know, this is do anything you'd like here. I'm not going to get into too many details about how to use a text editor because it's meant to really just be a general text editor. You can change the color, you can put in links, you can change the font sizes and align left and right. And if you know HTML, you can come in here and do all kinds of weird things with the HTML. And then the last thing here is to include an all-in-one report. You probably are going to want to use this creating a table thing. So we can insert a table and it defaults to having a just a 3x2 grid there. Let's add in a header to that table and you can come in here. I forget the exact columns and everything that was here. Let's add in another column to the right. We can say insert a column to the right. So whatever that's going to be. Let's add in another row. Click down here and say insert row below and so forth. All right, so you can build out a table like this for anything you like. You can make multiple tables. You can put a table inside a table. Wow, what versatility. All right. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to want to put some actual all-in-one report data inside of this cell. So we're going to click AIO to say we want to have an all-in-one report single cell be included in here, or an entire table, and then I'll tell you what this one is later. All right, so the difference is when we go back to our report that we already did. I'm so sorry, like jumping around all these windows. It might be, maybe it's confusing. But if I go back to edit this report that we already did, I can see that when we had direct time spent, we have just a value in here. And that is pulling from one cell in some all-in-one report. And so the way that we built this up is we kind of needed to kind of make our own customized report format. So we're just including lots of different cells from, it's all really coming from one all-in-one report. But down here, we just need, we already have the full table built out in the all-in-one report. We're happy with that table. It looks good. It does what we want to do. So all we want to do is just include that table. And of course, with the constants passed through that we wanted it to be. All right, so that's why, I'll go back through and I'll run this pre-built one again. So that's why we're going through here. You can see kind of it happened fast, but we're kind of working out what that cell is. Then it's moving on to that cell, that cell, that cell. And then when it came to this one, it said, okay, now I just need to include that whole entire table that's already built, and now this entire table that was already built. All right, so let's go back to what we're designing. And I'm not going to worry about getting this be exactly right to what we did on that other one, because hopefully it doesn't really matter. So we're going to include a single cell, and we're going to look for our report folder that we've already created and our report inside of that folder that we want to reference. And so now we've picked that, we need to say, okay, which column from this report do I want to be referencing? So maybe here we want to pull the direct time spent column. Let me go back to this and kind of just show you. So we're going to say, okay, this is it knows that this report has these 3 columns. So we're going to say, okay, we want to get something from this column here. And now it wants to know, okay, which, yikes, so many windows. Which row in here? So maybe we want to use the count row at the bottom, the sum row at the bottom, or the average row at the bottom. So this is the count, the sum, and then if we had this turned on, this would be the average. Right? And that's probably going to be one of the most common things that you do. Just, I'm trying to get the sum of direct time spent from this report. It's nice to see these results, but all we care about in this custom report is really the sum of that report. If you did want to see every single result, then you probably shouldn't have picked AIO single cell reference in the first place. You probably would have just included an entire table, and then that entire table would show up for you in the results. All right, so we've now said pick this column, this row, and now we have a couple of extra options. We can say, when we see the result, should I be able to click on it to see more information about what that is? So the default is no, but we can change to say yes, and when I do, I want to see a list of entries, or yes, when I do, I want to see the entire report table. So I'll show you kind of examples of those two things. When I click on this total here, it's been set to just show me the entire table inside of here. So this is the entire report. So we can see, oh, yep, here's the count, it's 12. And here's all the results, and I can kind of verify and see that is 12 different rows. I have qualifying clients in here where I can click this, and now it's showing me, okay, this is all the people who were on that report. So maybe that's all we care about for seeing when we click on this number. Right? So it's going to be different for whatever use that you're doing. And you can also just include a description about what this report, this cell is actually doing. So I would do it something like, a lot of times I just kind of like reiterate what I've selected above. So the sum of all direct time spent, maybe it would just be that, just something to give you a little bit of a clue about what you're at least attempting to do in the number and what you're trying to get at. All right, so kind of while I'm here, I just want to point out the fact that whenever you see this little icon here, this lets you click there, and it will open the all-in-one report that's this is being referenced by that number, and it's going to make sure that report has the dates set that you were using on that custom report, so that you can like really compare what's going on here, and then maybe you want to make changes to the report, and you can make changes right in here if you want to, and it will kind of save, because you are actually modifying the direct and collateral time report that you sent. It's just the constants are slightly different, and those don't get saved, and it doesn't matter if those get saved anyways. All right, so we're building a kind of a grid of numbers based off of different all-in-one reports that you put in. Let's say we've done this for direct time, and now we want to kind of do it for collateral time. We could come back here. I find that I kind of like having everything be centered in these table cells. We could come back in here and do, oh, give me single cell, blah, 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 and repeat a lot of our steps. But let's get rid of this and cut it. But instead, we can make a copy. So we click on it. Instead of doing edit, we click a copy. And let's do our browser's paste. What? That's not what I wanted. Oh, maybe I do copy, Control V. No, it's not happening. What you have to do instead is say copy this, and then come to AIO, and then say include an AIO from the clipboard, and now that puts the copy. It would have been so great if we could have made it so you can do like copy and then Control V, or like this. We tried, and by we I mean I couldn't get it. I'm sorry. So we have that kind of weird workaround. All right, so there's a copy of this cell here, and now we can edit this one. And maybe now we just want to switch and say, okay, show me the collateral time spent column. All right, and then maybe collateral time spent. All right, we modify that. All right, so that can be used to kind of really easily spread out a whole bunch of cells throughout here. If you're finding that you have like, it's a table of like 100 different cells that you're going to have to do this to, don't do that. There's probably a better way to create your all-in-one report in the first place that gets all of the cells in the format that you want, and then all you have to do is include that table. So you shouldn't have to do such intense things with all this. Did I mention that you can also have it include the first row of process data or the last row of process data or raw data? This would actually be used pretty rarely, but it was easy enough to build in, so we did it. All right, that's putting in single cells. And now we can come down here and say table. Obviously, you can put anything you want here, put a little description, whatever you want to do. And now let's say include all-in-one report from an entire table. Which all-in-one report do we want to do? Let's do our location data, and that's it. That's all we need. It's just going to feed in the exact location data thing that we have. Save changes. Let's view it in another window. Female, generate report. All right, looks a little bit different than the other one that we did because I didn't really go through the effort of making sure it looks completely accurate, but hopefully you're kind of getting the point, and maybe, just maybe, you're getting excited about the things that you can do with this fancy new tool. All right, so there's that whole table. So let's look through here and let's notice one thing. What's Bob Doe doing here? I said females, and Bob Doe is a male. Why is he showing up? Well, that's because we haven't told any of our reports of what to actually do with this gender constant. It doesn't just know. So we've got to go back to our all-in-one reports that are using this kind of thing and tell it that there's going to be this new constant that we're passing through, and to know where to use it. So we've got our service start end dates. Let's drag in a new thing here and say we're going to want to get only clients where I have a gender of what? Well, we're not going to select just female like that because that's like hard-coded into the report. It will always only get females. What we want to do instead is say add a constant. And now we're going to say, okay, we're going to have a code that's going to be passed through gender, and let's pick something to start. So a code of value 1. And then now when we come back here, we can say, instead of using gender female, we're going to say use the constant gender. All right. And now if I come back here and say code 2, that's only getting me males, and there does not appear to be any males in this time range. All right, so all these changes get saved automatically. So now when I come back to my reports and I do my another test report, I can say start date January to here, and female And oh, it was actually the other table that was doing this. So I'm not going to repeat the steps. So if I would have done that, and gone to this report and put in here a constant called gender, I guess I will repeat it. Gender 1, and we want to do demographics, gender equals this constant. All right, and now when we come back to here and reload, all right, now the men are gone. Okay, so this is great. Let me think about other things to tell you about here. You can potentially have a constant that you define on your own. So maybe you want to say, okay, 1 equals yes and 2 equals no, and then when somebody runs this report, they will see a custom set of options that you define. And when they pick yes, a constant called yes, no will be passed through to the reports that you build, and we'll use the value of 1. Oh my gosh, I'm all over the place. 1 if they select yes, and 2 if they select no. Why 1 and 2? Because that's what you just picked when you define it here. 1 equals yes, 2 equals no. Totally fine for you to not be super great on that. Just wanted to make sure you knew that that was a possibility, and we can probably be very helpful to you on how to build something like that. Oh yeah, down here, extra special stuff. Let's say you're a whiz at CSS and you wanted to do something amazing like, so notice how on this test report that I have, the background color is being changed to red. Well, that's being done through CSS, where I'm coming down here and saying, okay, body, background color, red. No idea what this means? That's because you don't know CSS. Don't know CSS? Don't worry about it. JavaScript, you want some JavaScript to run before the report runs, pre-processing code? Here you go, that's where you can put that. You want some JavaScript to run after you have run the report? Here you go, you can do that. Wondering why you would ever want to do this stuff and what you possibly do with it? I don't know, it gets really complicated. It's probably us who's going to be the one building this kind of thing for you. So if we build a report for you that has some JavaScript pre-processing and post-processing code, please don't change it. It will break the report probably. Okay, one last thing to let you know about. When you are running a report, you will most likely want to be able to print it. So let's go get this again. We can see at the top, we have print report. Either print or save as PDF. So we can click here and say print. We can either choose the printer that we want to print to, or we can choose our save to PDF option, and then this saves it as a PDF. If you are thinking, oh, can I export it to Excel or something else? No, because you are building in this custom format and all these things. You can't get this into Excel because you could have done any number of odd things in here that goes outside the means of a spreadsheet. If you do want something to be in Excel, then you probably are going to go to the all-in-one report itself and then export this to a spreadsheet, and then the results that you're seeing here will get exported to Excel. You could potentially click and drag all this and then copy it and paste it into Microsoft Word and then do some more modifications if you wanted to do that and you didn't want to rely on kind of the, when you create a PDF, generally it's stuck as whatever format is created. All right, so that's how to use this report. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope that you're, again, excited about what you can potentially do. And again, it's totally fine if you have questions. We're happy to help. We are going to charge you for helping, but it shouldn't be the most ever. And again, isn't it just more important that we're happy to help? Isn't that just the nicest bit of it all? Okay, all right. I hope this was helpful to you. Thanks.